This is the 365 Days of Multi-Level Marketing Journey to Freedom podcast with Rome Bachelor, where Rome shares his daily journey from down and out to total financial freedom in 1 year, along with pro tips, tricks, strategies, and tools to help you join in on the journey. Now, here's Rome with today's Journey to Financial Freedom podcast.
Hello everybody, this is day 4 of the 365 days of MLM, my journey to freedom and possibly your journey to financial freedom forever podcast. Today is going to be brief, but today I'm going to share a couple quick pro tips, something that is often neglected from those that don't understand what kind of business they're in. If you're in the business of multi-level marketing, you're in the business of network marketing. And if you think you're in the business of sales, I believe you're mistaken. And here's why. Because you're not in the business of you using your mouth to convince anyone very much of anything, other than possibly to promote events. Other than that, and tools. Other than those things, there really shouldn't be any sales. So today's pro tip is society. You want to build a society and you want to understand what business you're in, which is network marketing. So what is network marketing? It's when you're netting together, and it takes work. You have to work at netting together people, because this is a people business. So what you want to do is do your best to get out of the way and be a bridge, to be a connector, to connect like a net many people together, because it's a people business, it's a relationship business. And the more the message is you and what you say with your mouth, then the more frustration and the slower your duplication is going to be. See, it's a business of security because it's not about your efforts alone. It's a business of freedom because it's not about you and your ego. The more you make it about you, the less freedom and the less duplication you're going to have. So the quicker you can move the conversation away from your own story, which you do want to share your story when the time is right. Sometimes it's early and sometimes that's later. But you want, really and truly, you want to use a mini story as a reason to catch attention, but make it brief. Be brief, baby, be brief. In order to connect the person to a tool, a video, an audio, a conference call, a webinar, and even more importantly, a team, a person, a leader, someone you edify. See, when Jesus sent out the apostles 2 by 2 to witness, they were not saying, come to our church. They were not saying, come to our fellowship. You know what they were saying? They were not saying, come hang out with us. They were saying, you got to come hear this man. All we can tell you is his message is different than anything we've ever heard. The lame are walking, the blind are seeing, and the deaf can hear. And you've got to come check this out. This is unreal. And it wasn't one person saying it, was out of the mouth of 2, or maybe one was a main speaker, but there was 2 people witnessing together. And you know what? He made us and our psychology, so he knows how it works, and he sent them out 2 by 2 because people will be responding to the mouth and the witness of 2 much more powerfully and much more effectively than out of the mouth of 1 alone. So number 1, you want to even as early as the initial approach, when it's practical, bring in another party. Even if they're mostly silent, if they're there and they're sort of nodding, whether it's on the phone, figuratively, by saying a little bit of affirming thoughts, or whether it be face-to-face. The point is, or even on a video or a tool or a conference call or a webinar, the point is as many times as possible, and it's not always possible and it's not always necessary, but if it's just you and that's all that's available, you must it's more imperative that you quickly connect your open-minded prospect or person or connection to at least one, if not many, other people by using events, by using three-way calls, by using webinars, by using videos where there's testimonials and information and credibility and doctors or what have you, experts and authors and systems that educate and train, but mainly and initially it has to be a witness that what you're saying is legitimate and exciting and useful and beneficial, and it's not just one person's opinion, but more than one. And even though someone logically will assume, well, if one person says it's good, somebody else is too, this is not about logic. People make decisions based on emotion and social proof. And so when you connect people, if you become a great connector, your results will be many, many fold more effective than if you become a great talker or a great slick convincer. Now, is it useful to know a few good sales techniques, such as asking questions versus making statements? The power of a good question, the power of a good story. These things, it's useful, but you don't need to go too far with it. The basics is fine, the very simple basics, because you want your words to be effective. When you do use them, you don't want them to be rejected, you want them to be effective. But that's not to convince someone who is not open-minded. The first step is to find out if someone is willing to listen, if someone is open-minded, if someone is receptive. Once someone verifies that they're receptive to the slightest amount, then your job is immediately to connect to information and to other people and or to other experts. And here's the other key to this. What you endorse, who you endorse, has the power to share more effectively than who you don't endorse. So it's very important for you to say to your prospect that this video is absolutely worth their time, is absolutely going to answer their questions, is absolutely going to do a much better job explaining it than you can, because a picture is worth 1,000 words, and a video has many, many pictures, and it'll explain it far better in, say, 10 minutes than you can in an hour. So do you want the hour poor version, or you want the 10-minute great version? So I'm not saying use those words, but you can. I have, and it makes sense why you want them to watch a video rather than just tell me about it. So endorse the person as well. I'm in business with John, and John has been in business longer than I have. He's very, very successful at what he does. He's one of the most successful people for the time he's been involved than anyone I know. And I know you'd want to hear it right from the expert rather than myself, or right from somebody who knows even more or is even more successful than I. And that could be your sponsor, your sponsor's sponsor, your enroller, your enroller's enroller, or the leader on your team that will be willing to work with you and help you. So you want to endorse the person before the introduction, or right at the beginning of the introduction, or both, because that will enable the other person to want to know why in the world they're talking to them in the first place, and be more receptive to what they have to say. So do you want to use a sharp axe, or do you want to use a dull axe? Do you want your work to be more effective or less effective? Sharpen your axe, connect quickly, and endorse the person, the video, the webinar, the conference call that you're using, the tool, and the team that you are going to be netting with your prospect. Endorse it. Empower it to work better for you. Otherwise, you're going to work too hard and you will not get the results. So it's not about ego. Even the way you phrase your questions, instead of saying, if I could show you, it would be better to say, if there was a way. So, because it's not about me telling you something because I'm so smart. If there was a way to earn an extra X income